Welcome to the Parody, where we tally up the victims and all our favorite movies. I'm Dusty Rose, and today we're looking at one of YouTube's most well-known movies, Killer Bean Forever, which had its premiere in Toronto, Canada in 2008, but had its wide release on DVD in 2009. Of course, Killer Bean Forever was directed and animated by Jeff Liu, who had already worked on all that stuff I've mentioned in previous episodes. Killer Bean Forever took 5 years to make and over 1,000 shots, and it's impressive that was all animated by just him and no one else. Of course, there was crew this time around with lead character designer Von C. Caberte and music by Justin R. Durbin and Jeff Liu. And of course, there's voice actors. After Jeff Liu voiced Killer Bean for the first 2 entries in the franchise, he passed it on for Vegas E. Jenkins for just this entry only. This is one of his most well-known roles, alongside voicing Jimmy T from the WarioWare games ever since 2018.
Hey, Jimmy always knows.
Can we get a pic?
I thought you would never ask.
And yes, like last time, the opening to this one is similar to the one in Killer Bean 2. This entire thing was basically repurposed from a draft Jeff Liu had in 2002 called Killer Bean Free Forever, which would have been 45 minutes long and put onto DVD. But that draft was repurposed into this film, which is 2 times longer and basically goes off from what Killer Bean 2 did. It also introduces multiple different Bean factions, as the Shadow Agency, the Police, and Cappuccino's gang. Cappuccino's gang are the people who started the party and what basically streamlines the events of the movie, as Killer Bean goes and kills all of them. For Killer Bean, he was with the Shadow Beans before he eventually departed from them later on. And then there's the Police, who have to be the most idiotic characters I've ever seen in my life. And thanks to one sick epic party, all of our stories intertwine. What I'm saying is that this film is basically Killer Bean versus everyone, because they all eventually go against each other. And I haven't even gotten onto my actual opinions about it. This is basically just an echo of Dumb 80s action movies, except the humans are replaced with beans. Parts of this can be seen through the corny jokes,
Hey, don't I know you from somewhere?
and the superhuman abilities of the main protagonist.
Sorry, it was a double flusher.
But you only flushed once.
No, not that, I meant... And the animation's impressive too, considering this is made in the mid-2000s on a budget of just under $1 million. Oh, and said action scenes are freaking amazing! It's very obvious that Jeff Liu studied the choreography of the films he had worked on. And although some aspects bog it down, that's still what makes the film pretty good at the end of the day. Oh, and I haven't even gotten into how the film experienced a resurgence in 2018. It was due to many YouTubers talking about it that people went and flocked to the official YouTube channel to go see the movie. And on top of it, you have to talk about the nostalgia factor, as this movie did come out in 2008, at the prime of the DVD era. And oh, memes might have had something to do with it too. And I thought the series had fell off from when I made the original count last year, but as it shows, that is currently the 3rd most viewed video on the channel right now. Will this new and improved version keep up the same amount of kills as the original, or will it go up or down one? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's get to the kills. The movie begins with the pretty infamous party that goes down during this opening. We see all these beans dancing and yeah, looks like a good time in there. This dance number is in the movie because Jeff Liu wanted to be a director of a musical, so this is basically his workaround for this not being a musical. The background music here is awesome. It's been stuck in my mind. After what seems like endless dancing, the DJ of the party gets a call. It's a request from the Killer Bean himself, asking them to turn the music down yet again. He turns it up only for Killer Bean to respond like an 8-year-old on Fortnite.
Turn down your damn music or I'll come over there and turn it down myself.
He eventually hangs up.
Beach.
The party looks like it's coming in full swing, with one bean looking like they're the main attraction, although Killer Bean is here to ruin the party. And yes, those guys died. Killer Bean proceeds to explain his motivation. He gets irritable when he doesn't sleep, and that apparently triggers the first action scene. They all try to get a piece of this Killer Bean stew before Killer Bean decides, you know what, I'm gonna have some fun with this. He straight up kills basically the entire warehouse, all the rest of the 22 beans except for the DJ that were in there. And it's still impressive that even though after all of this, he still hasn't even been shot once. The last one here has been dubbed as Killer Bean's favorite kill, the sick grenade trick shot that eventually ends up working somehow. And eventually the DJ Bean is last. Before Killer Bean ultimately gets him, he has to ask a few questions, like number 1, who the frick is his uncle? Spoiler alert, it's Cappuccino. From this DJ Bean, Killer Bean gets everything he needs to know, so he just shoots him off screen before the opening credits begin. After the title card, we get treated to a police officer. He's here with Detective Cromwell to investigate the massacre, and they're shocked at what they find. They haven't even seen anything like this since 2000. They're investigating all the bodies until they find some bullet casings on the ground, engraved with Killer Bean's name. Eventually, some guy not invited to the party comes in. Since he arrived at the wrongest time possible, it appears he looks like a suspect, so they shoot out his tires. This Bean's name is Vegan, and I'm sorry, from this angle it just looks goofy. They interrogate Vegan based on the gun he has, but he says that if he was looking for action here, these two would have already been dead. They ultimately let Vegan go, because of what he said and the fact that he works for Cappuccino. They give him Killer Bean's bullet casing and a traffic warning. The next morning, Detective Cromwell is being interviewed, the police are at the scene, and Killer Bean is trying to sleep. And because of all the noise, he angrily wakes up.
What the hell is going on out there?
He examines it before he decides to get out his sniper rifle just to kill even more people. He looks at all the cops ready to kill, and then he spots Detective Cromwell.
Who's this?
Fully believable. But before he can pull it off, his phone goes off. It's from his own Shadow Being people, who were saying he was being reckless last night by killing all those partying gangsters. And they're also sending someone else to get him. Wait, did I say reckless?
Reckless. Reckless my brown bean ass.
He smiles at his own gun, but before we can see him pick it up, we get transported to some sort of restaurant? Okay. This is Jet Bean, who was eating before he got interrupted by the Shadow Bean leader, telling him that he has a mission over in Beantown. He initially says someone else should take it, but he's told that he's the best person fit for it, so he takes the job. He tells the manager of the restaurant that he has to go somewhere, like Beantown, so the manager has a surprise for him. It's his unpaid bill, and I'm gonna let the rest of the scene play out because it's way too insane for me to summarize.
Qingtao, get out here.
Hi?
He say your food tastes like ass crack.
What?
Make bean curd out of him.
Yo!
The manager then says that the food is on the house. Over at Cappuccino's real base, he tells everyone working for him that their narcotic sales are increasing, and that is bad. Hey dude, do you have anything for egg sales? Oh, one of these guys is out for jury duty.
Yeah, too bad we didn't stay for the whole thing. I bet they had some fun.
When Cappuccino asks for a reason why the drug sales are performing so poorly, this Bean says that it was from all those anti-drug commercials. Cappuccino doesn't like that, so he gets out a baseball bat and swings him out the window. Another Bean asks if he's available for retirement, and Cappuccino decides yes.
My social security number is 346.
Before he can kill, a very sick epic gamer Bean, Vegan walks in to ruin it.
That Bean is nothing but a kiss-ass brown noser.
He's here to tell Cappuccino that his nephew and 25 other Beans were killed by one Killer Bean. Cappuccino orders Vegan to go kill Killer Bean as soon as possible. Although it does take a minute, he agrees to the job. And if he can't kill Killer Bean, well, he's gonna get fired. To get more stuff about Killer Bean, Detective Cromwell hooks up with a guy named Terry, who knows way too much about stuff I don't know that much about.
Silicon steel fiber alloy. So the bullets expand and deform on high impact. They make little holes on the way in and big holes on the way out. Killer Bean.
Earlier, Vegan and Killer Bean had slid into each other's DMs, so now Killer Bean's on the way to the Yowie house. When he gets there, he decides to make a thematic entrance. He goes in to find absolutely no one, since who would be partying at 2 PM on a Monday? He tries to read the note, but before it can happen, Vegan comes in and snipes at him. There is still some good choreography here with all the sniper shots and Killer Bean's exciting dance moves. In the end, Vegan's scope is destroyed along with a section of his own gun. But although it was the reason he had embarked on this, we never actually see what's on the note. Oh no, wait, what I just said was erroneous. It actually says, "You are too late." For a cooldown, he asked for some drinks and for the TV to be turned up. The TV is playing a recording of what was being seen a bit earlier on in the day. It's previously recorded footage of Detective Cromwell talking about previous suspects. Speaking of Detective Cromwell, here he is now. He gets out of his vehicle to see that no one's inside this warehouse with an obviously broken window. It's the Killer Bean! Soon after, he opens the door and basically summons himself. For the bartender, he's swinging for what Killer Bean's having. They just have just a small bit of conversation, and he asks if it's against police regulation to be drinking during the day, but apparently that doesn't attend to detectives.
How'd you know I was with the police?
You know, you're much uglier in person.
They introduce themselves to each other before they talk about what happened last night at Cappuccino's warehouse. Killer Bean doesn't lay down any evidence, so Cappuccino lists out his whole string of facts.
So my guess is, this belongs to you.
Well, he has it dead set, so then they bring out their guns to prove who has the bigger gun? What? This is by far the slowest scene of the movie, but with some fast moments like this. He deducts that Killer Bean is after Cappuccino's gang, and now he wants to be like him, just go up to Cappuccino and shoot him, but he can't since he's bound by the forces of the law. Cromwell is basically just a neutral character in the film, not tied to one specific side. He could be good or he could be evil, but he just lays down in the middle because that's what the law tells him. It's here that he presents Killer Bean with two choices. One, a government cover-up, or two, him taking him down.
Oh, I would enjoy that.
It basically turns into a multi-way standoff between the bartender, Detective Cromwell, and Killer Bean. After a full 45 seconds of tension, Detective Cromwell lowers his gun and walks out of the bar slowly. And with that, Detective Cromwell is gone. With that, Killer Bean unleashes a fat wad of dough and then proceeds to go to the bathroom. Not fully mastering his walk cycle, Detective Cromwell notices a note from the Shadow Bean. Back inside, Killer Bean exposes his godlike abilities.
Sorry, it was a double flusher.
But you only flushed once.
When Killer Bean exits, Detective Cromwell just pulls a gun up to his head, asking who the Shadow Bean is. Hey dude, you want a present? Yeah, sure. After that whole extravaganza, Detective Cromwell hooks up with Harry so he can tell him about the Shadow Beans.
They're highly trained operatives of an organization called the Shadow Agency. There are some things the government does that are not meant to be known. I don't know. I thought the Shadow Agency was disbanded. I know our government stopped using them nearly a decade ago.
Alright, that's it with Shadow Bean lore. Killer Bean has its next target figured out. His next targets are just some dudes at a table? They talk about the opening scene warehouse attack and who might have caused it, which eventually turns into a conversation about gun control. Sure, it doesn't make that much sense, but it's kinda actually ahead of its time. But look who's coming in, ready to kill some more people. Before he can kill this group of beans, he has to get some beer glass removed from his foot. One bean shoots at him, signaling they have more stuff to count. His first 3 targets are beer chugger beans who didn't get hit by any bottles at all. The last one hears from a standoff.
Looks like what we got here is a standoff.
Another group of beans then proceed to spot him and they start shooting at him, only for him to flip this table over. He uses this as a device to kill 8 more beans that start running at him, almost all of which are centralized over here in this tracking shot. This guy tells another guy to go call Vegan. Vegan picks up and the calling bean tells him that I think Killer Bean's at the scene.
How do you know?
Well, he's killing everyone.
Why would he not be calling everyone? That's basically his entire thing. The barricaded beans keep on shooting at Killer Bean until he finds some grenades. This leads to the funniest death in the movie when Killer Bean just outright throws the grenade at him and he just stands there, only to have this amazing line delivery.
Grenade!
The last 5 beans in the warehouse are taken care of pretty quickly from grenade gunshots or just gunshots in general. Eventually, the mercenaries come in, make a huge mess in the warehouse, and come out and introduce themselves to Killer Bean. These guys were hand-selected from their leader from the academy, who all apparently had passing grades. After many medals of honor and purple hearts, they've resorted to a life full of crime, such as bank robberies. In the words of their leader, it's basically a search and destroy at this point. Killer Bean proves to be very ignorant about what all was said there, and starts yet another action scene full of bean murder. And wow, is it deadly. 21 more mercenary beans are shot and killed by Killer Bean, who still somehow manages to miss every single shot fired at him. He has another foe on that gigantic mercenary vehicle they rolled in on, some guy with infinite ammo, okay. With the leader surviving, he blows at Killer Bean, only for him to get out of the way. Because of that, Killer Bean can shoot the infinite ammo bean off screen. Well, the leader's still alive. Not for long though, Killer Bean gets a bullet onto a missile that was still loaded, giving us the best one-liner ever.
Decaffinated.
Well, Killer Bean is in a caffeinated situation. Vegan is leading some motorcycle beans to that very warehouse. But it still surprises me how easily Killer Bean can kill literally anyone within his field of vision. Vegan's last, and he decides to get Killer Bean with some gunshots to his motorcycle until an upright explodes, sending Killer Bean into ragdoll mode. Killer Bean eventually wakes up to see Cappuccino inside the warehouse. Cappuccino wants every single piece of knowledge from Killer Bean, while all Killer Bean wants is his own guns, which have been confiscated by his own henchmen. However, Cappuccino doesn't like this.
Oh, no you did not.
After asking Killer Bean if he knows his nephew, he goes off about his nephew, stating that he wanted to be a DJ and own his own nightclub, and Cappuccino would let him if he agreed on to a profit share. However, both of them didn't agree on that profit share, but he did love playing his music loud. Yeah, but now Cappuccino is done with Killer Bean, so he orders his gang members to kill him. But as expected, that goes upside down real quick, as Killer Bean escapes his restraints and kills 4 of Cappuccino's beans. Apparently the last ones to survive, probably. Both Cappuccino and Detective Cromwell are unsatisfied by this. Oh yeah, Detective Cromwell has been snooping on Killer Bean for about the past 10 minutes of the film. I just didn't want to mention it because I thought it was unimportant. But now he's important here, as he calls backup to the scene. At first, Cappuccino thinks that Killer Bean's here to kill him, although he's actually not. He's here to kill Vegan. Although he does eventually make Cappuccino an extra option. On that note, Cappuccino leaves the scene to go do job stuff, only to tell Vegan a special message.
Oh, by the way, Megan, you're fired!
It's really sudden, considering Vegan's emotion to killing his own boss. Detective Cromwell just zooms away from the entire scene while it looks like what we got here is a standoff. It's revealed here that Vegan was previously part of the Shadow Agency and was one of her top beans in which Killer Bean looked up to. While there, Vegan decided to steal all of her government information because if he didn't, they were gonna get away with it. The Shadow Agency was originally a government-owned private organization that eventually turned into Guns for Hire. All of this is explained after Vegan says shit. The final straw for Vegan and the Shadow Agency was them sending him on a mission to send weapons to the very organization he had tried taking down. He stole out a government info to continue his work, which eventually led to him joining Cappuccino. Vegan tells Killer Bean that he's just a liability to the Shadow Agency, even though they had told him that he was one of the top beans. Killer Bean thinks Vegan is lying, so he decides to literally put a bullet in it when he shoots Vegan. It takes a bit for Vegan to collapse, but he's still not dead yet, as he has to croak out some final words.
I had to take the shot. I would have done more with my life than you ever will. Doesn't matter now. We're both dead beans.
After all of that, Detective Cromwell gets some good news from the backups. They're only a few minutes away, but he wants everyone. Eventually, Jet Bean reaches Beantown. Jet Bean gets a call while Killer Bean tries to eavesdrop on it, only to find out that it's been deactivated on his side. Once the call is done, Jet Bean walks into the town while Killer Bean sacrifices himself? Oh, no wait, there's an entire conversation between Killer Bean and Detective Cromwell. So, all Detective Cromwell wants from Killer Bean is stuff about the Shadow Agency and the Shadow Beans, because he's the key to all of this. But Killer Bean can't give him any info. That's because now he is no longer a Shadow Bean. In the end, Detective Cromwell offers Killer Bean a place to stay for the night. And like I said, he turns himself in. Well, now he's in prison. Residents of Beantown can be safe again. At the crime scene of 49 corpses, all these idiot cops are here until Jet Bean arrives.
Well, Jet Bean, Killer Bean isn't here to put his ass on the slammer.
This cop decides to ask who Jet Bean himself is, although he doesn't answer, so they decide to crack some so-called jokes.
Let me put it in a language you can understand.
This is one of the most mean parts of the movie, as this Bean asks in a stereotypically Asian accent who Jet Bean is. So in response, Jet Bean decides to kick him towards the wall, which I'll count. He did it extra hard and he goes into a ragdoll position. Oh, and I guess that's his way to get arrested by the cops so he can go and fight Killer Bean. Detective Cromwell tells the commander that he's done a great job and then clocks out of the movie. Yup, Detective Cromwell actually survives the movie, which is pretty rare. Usually no one gets out of the way of Killer Bean's grasp of death. Yeah, but Jet Bean comes in. And I guess Jet Bean doesn't want any cops to see the fight since he immediately kills the two cops that let him here in the first place. And then Jet Bean gets out of his handcuffs, signaling that shit has hit the fan. Inside the prison, we can hear gunshots in the background, signaling that a huge fight is happening. But later we see that Jet Bean was proven to be victorious. They talk on and off for literally, probably a little bit before we can begin the fight. Beginning with Hulk-like abilities, this ending fight scene is one of the best choreographed parts of the film. It's one of the only times in the entire Killer Bean franchise that someone has proven to match up to his strength. Because let's be fair, this fight is pretty even. These guys basically have the exact same strength and they take probably about the same amount of hits. No joke, this battle goes on for about 5 to 6 minutes. And for the film's ultimate climax, it really delivers in every aspect. And the way the fight ends is nothing short of legendary. He shoots bullets at Jet Bean, but doesn't forget about the one he threw up in the air. So he shoots a bullet at that one, so it deflects into Jet Bean's chest, killing him. And that's what makes this segment the sheer highlight of the entire movie. Eventually, he crumbles. Outside the prison, we get a really nice shot of the sky. I hope nothing really gets in the way of this. Oh, come on! I guess we can finish off the count with 13 cop bodies, even though one of them is barely even visible. Killer Bean calls up the Shadow Agency's leader, tells him that Jet Bean is dead and that he's quitting the Shadow Agency.
Oh, I'm coming in, but it won't be for talking.
Afterwards, he spots a police van that, much like Burt Gummer's rec room, is filled up with guns. The movie ends with Killer Bean driving off, ready to take down an entire agency. How many people died in Killer Bean's most convoluted adventure yet? Let's find out and get to the numbers. Because you see, the numbers are where I can party whenever I want. Ha! Killer Bean can't catch me now! So, 96 people died in Killer Bean Forever, a record high for the series that will never be matched. The victims were all male, giving us our highest amount of victims that have a one gender pie chart or something. This recount manages to lie with the exact same amount of kills I counted last year in August 2022. With a runtime of 85 minutes, that left us with a kill on average of 53.13 seconds. I'll definitely be giving Amethyst Flamethrower to Jet Bean. Oh my god, that has to be one of the greatest kills I've ever seen on the channel. Broken Pistol will be going to those 4 beans in a warehouse. You can see them coming from a mile away, and the choreography really isn't that interesting. And that's it. Killer Bean Forever was originally premiered in 2008, but had wide release on DVD in 2009. It's currently being continued through video game form after some YouTube form stuff failed. Tomorrow I'll be looking at Noob in the Hood 2, but until then, you know who I am, and this has been the Parody. Thanks a lot for watching this parody. If you didn't notice, I'm making some massive changes to the layout. First of all, no more plain profile pictures. So you're getting all this new stuff drawn by me, and there's finally going to be backgrounds here. Second of all, schedule changes. So, Time Heroes is now going to be the New Year's 2024 episode, and BFDIA will take its slot for August 17th. I'll probably still be doing an Anime Insanity Season 1 around that time too. I'll probably give it a week or two. And lastly, you should also be expecting Noob in the Hood 2 tomorrow, like I said, and the return to Killer Bean and the Killer Bean series on the next 2 Fridays. You got all that? Great. Thanks for watching.